Today we're going to do something a little bit different from what we, actually a lot of bit different from what we normally do. We are doing a bracket fight to determine what the best LD5 in Element Fission is. Now, realistically, in any of these games, in any mobile gacha game or any RPG or basically any game, there really shouldn't be a one unit that's better than everything else. It should be, what's the situation you're in, what do you have to accomplish, and then this is a better unit than the other unit for this specific scenario. So there really should not be a one unit that's better than everything else. But we're going to do it anyway because it's fun, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree and yell at me and argue in the comments, but that is basically everything in every mobile game ever. There's always controversy, difference of opinions. So let's get started. Before we get it started, I do want to mention that this bracket fight actually breaks if I put every single unit in. So there's a couple that are not actually in here, but I feel like they're not really going to be at the top of the list anyway, sadly enough. Let's just do a little brief recap of them. Light Psycho Surgeon. He does a steal of beneficial effects. Steal one buff from the target for each buff you own. Decrease incoming damage. Increase outgoing damage by 10%. Additionally, any buff you gain will be spread to all allies. Activated only once per turn. Not a bad unit, just not a super... I had to choose some to leave off. So that's one of the ones that was chosen to leave off. The Dark one... When attacking enemies with debuffs, each debuff increases damage by 30%. When attacking enemies without debuffs, randomly transfer one debuff from our side to the target. Additionally, nullify debuff effects you possess and extend the duration of debuff effects you apply by an additional 1 turn, which is actually pretty nice. Like, these units are not bad at all. I just had to leave some stuff off, sadly, because if I try to make this any bigger, it actually breaks the system, because I don't know why they... I don't know why it breaks this system, though, because I really would like to have these on there, because I feel like the Dark Psycho Surgeon is actually a pretty cool unit. And then we have the Mercenary Mothers. The Dark one creates a 2-turn shield that equals to 230 to 276 of your defense when battle starts, or whenever you get attack, counterattack enemy. If you get attacked with a shield, damage increased by 50% of the shield amount. Fairly straightforward. And then the Mother's Majesty for the light one. Enemies with lower defense have up to 35% chance to land glancing hits when attacking allies with higher defense. This effect does not stack with similar effects. Whenever you attack, you heal all allies for 30% of the damage you deal, and any debuff you inflict has an 80 to 100% chance to be applied to another enemy. Not bad units, cool units. Would love to get them, test them out, fight against them, etc., etc. I never see these in guild defenses, though. Do I? The dark one I see in guild defenses, but aside from that, I really don't see any of the other ones in the guild defenses. But yeah, just wanted to do a little recap because some of those are actually good units. So not bad. Just we are maxed out on the tier list without the bracket fight without breaking it. So let's go on to the first two over here. We have the Puppet Artist. So let's take a look at the... I mean, I'm going over really the third skills because the first and second skills, like, okay, this is a sleep. This is a cleanse on target ally. Recover the HP of all allies by 20 to 24%. Grant them 1 turn immunity. Like, that's not the thing that makes these units amazing. So I'm trying to keep it less crazy long and just go for their third skill. So Spectrum Swap, switch the action bar and HP ratios of the target and increase action bar of all allies by 15%. Cannot target yourself. This is do I want to say what units these are similar to? Yeah. So this is similar to the dark version of the game that shall not be named. And then we have this one, Dark Puppet Artist. It is a Nightmare passive, immune against sleep. Remove 1 buff and inflict 1 turn sleep on a random enemy when your turn begins. Decrease HP by 10% whenever a sleeping unit starts its turn. In addition, the damage you dealt won't break sleep effect, and your skill activation rate increases by 20%. I do feel like the light one is the better of the two. Can I actually... No, I don't want to... No, stop. I know I can do this and go backwards. I fixed it. Apparently a lot of stuff on this is broken. You're supposed to be able to click and then it removes that, but it wasn't removing everything. So let's go on to the next one, the Assassins. Let's take a look at this. When gaining a buff effect during our turn, increase the action bar of all allies by 10%. If defeated while holding any buff or debuff, revive with 10% HP for each effect. Pretty cool. Goes down to 3 turns. Also the speed lead, 33% in arena battle. And then we have the dark one, which is also cool. Assassination, attack the enemy to deal damage that ignores defense and bypasses the passive skills of anyone other than bosses. After killing the target, increase your action bar by 100%. And then we have the 42% attack during arena battle. I personally like the dark one a whole lot. I'm going to choose him for that because that is a nasty unit to fight against. If your opponent goes first and has that on the team, it's rough. It's rough. Bypass passives and ignore defense. So let's take a look at the next ones. I don't know why I'm going down to the dark one instead of the light one. So the Sphere Sage. Actually, I don't know if you guys know, but they have different names for some of these units. That'll be maybe another video. But this one I think is kind of like a ball master, which I think is kind of funny. But because his face. There's no body here. I don't know if you guys see that, but there's no body. It's just a ball head, and then everything else is like it's floating over like all this technology, right? So everything's all floating. Anyway, let's take a look at these skill 3. Reflects 30% of damage received, transforms into core form when other allies are attacked, and accumulates damage when you attack the enemy, adds damage equal to 15% of accumulated damage, resets after the attack. Core form immune to debuffs and action bar reduction effects, but cannot be controlled at the beginning of the turn. If there is no accumulated damage value, revert to sage form, while in core form additionally grants all allies a 20% damage reflection effect. And then we have the light one, Rods from God. Attack the target enemy if a skill is made. Great. Actually, that's a thing from, what is it? From a movie too. If a kill is made, grant yourself 1 turn of invincible, and the excess damage from the kill will be dealt to all other enemies. This skill ignores defense. I think this one is fairly straightforward. It doesn't bypass the passes though, which is so crazy that the Dark Assassin does that. I'm gonna go for. I feel like this is kind of based on what, like everything is based on where you're using it, but we will go with the Dark Sphere Sage. Let's take a look at the Dark Barbarian. He's got the Chain Effect passive, decreases critical damage all allies receive by 30%, increases the action bar of all allies by 10% if the ally receives a critical hit. Ragdoll. I'm sorry, got a Tourette's, guys. Tourette's. Increase the action bar by 50% if the ally's HP drops below 30%. And then we have the Light Barbarian, immune against inability effects when other allies are under. This would be a really good unit against those control teams too, in guild content. And then also when Live Arena becomes a thing in full swing, this is going to be useful against those teams in Live Arena too. Immune to action bar reduction effects when other allies are under inability effects. Immediately gain a turn when other allies or enemies lose their turn due to inability effects. Gaining turns from the enemy is limited cooldown. Additionally, the beginning of each turn, increase attack bar by 50%, stacking up to 5 times. I feel like these are both, for me, these feel both equal. We're going to go with the Dark Barbarian, but they definitely feel very, very similar in power level and utility. I think. What do we have next? We have the Twinblades, which are, good question. They're over here. Okay. So the dark one, 42 arena lead, 42 attack power arena lead. Phase Blade Array. When attacking, if the target is not under any buffs, your damage is increased by 50%. You deal 50% splash damage to other enemies besides the target. After the attack, if the target has any debuffs, extend all debuffs by 1 turn and randomly spread 1 debuff to other enemies besides the target. Can be potentially nasty, especially in a fast damage team. And then we have the Light Twinblade, Titanium passive, immune against all negative effects and has a 10 to 20% chance to block debuffs that are applied to other allies. In addition, the allies will retain, this got me like pretty bad. The allies will retain 70% of your base defense, even if affected by effects that decrease defense or ignore defense. So this basically just blocks out ignore defense. So I feel like that's kind of super strong. So let's go to the next one, the Dr. Evils. So Dark Dr. Evil, curve space time when applying buffs to allies, reduce their skill cooldowns by 2. He also does the apply buffs, apply speed up. So he's going to speed them up and decrease their cooldowns by 2 turns. When applying a debuff to enemies, increase their cooldowns by 1 turn. Additionally, after any skill is used by an ally, including yourself, there's a 25% chance that the skill will not go into cooldown. All of these LD5s are very strong. Even the ones that are not on the list are very strong too. So, wild. But it's really, really good in a control team. And then we have the relativity passive. Debuffs applied to you will be reflected, excluding inability effects. When enemy receives a debuff, your action bar increases by 10%. Additionally, your attacks ignore all of the target's buffs. And then we have the stun and slow over here. So this thing is really nasty in Hot Dog Hallway, Lost Tunnel. Man, they're both so good. I feel like the light one is a little more nasty. Maybe it's a personal opinion. That could be a personal opinion. Let's go to the dark fairy. Where is she? Yeah, let's see. So dark fairy, inflict a 5-turn leech seed to the target enemy. This effect will automatically disappear upon your death. Additionally, if the debuff you apply is removed, it will automatically transfer to the remover and refresh its duration. So leech seed makes the enemy unable to be revived, transfer received healing, and absorbs 20% of HP each turn. And then we have the light one. Misdirection, attack an enemy, remove all marks, and then inflict 2 turns of mark and 1 turn of tempting wreath, which is both of these are newer debuffs. Tempting wreath, your allies will uncontrollably attack you. When this effect ends, stuns them for 1 turn. I wish that I got a chance to see some of these some more. They're newer units, so I want to say the dark one. So we're gonna go with the dark one for now, and then we will move on, because I'm gonna rethink these a million times. So let's go to the Electromancers. The dark one is the attack all enemies, removes all buffs, and apply 2 turns of paralysis. If the buffs are successfully removed, apply 1 turn of stun. And then we have the light, and then he's got the bomb as well. You know what unit this is very familiar to. And then the light one, superconduct space, swap the current and missing portions of attack bar for everyone, then increase all allies' attack bar by 10%. Afterwards, grants 2 stacks of attack up and 2 turns of counter. This can be very, very nasty. Like, the second skill is very nasty as well. Like, everything here is really strong, especially, like, you can put this on really, really fast. You could put both of them on a really fast Swift set. So it is honestly very difficult to determine what I feel is. They're both really good. I'm going to go with the light one. I feel like that's going to be controversial for sure, but I'm going to go with the light one. So what do we have next is, yeah, you guys see that? So we got the first round on the left-hand side done. Sure, there's going to be a lot of angry comments already. Dark Iron Fist. Fist of Revenge passive. When attacked, apply Vengeful Mark for 1 turn to the attacker at the start of each turn. If no enemy has this effect, automatically apply it to the enemy with the lowest HP. Effect cannot be resisted and ignores immunity. When you attack an enemy with this effect, heals you for 50% of the damage dealt. And then we have the light one. Finger of Judgment, immune against defense break. Counterattack the enemy with a critical hit. If any ally receives a critical hit, and increase your action bar by 15%. So, we know, right? We already know what these units are like. I feel like the dark one is a little bit more fun. So we're going to go with the dark one. But again, another controversial. Everything is going to be controversial all the time. And I feel like there's not really any. You know what I'm going to say. I say it all the time. Everything is better or worse in a different spot, etc., etc., etc. Victory Rush. Passive, when attacking, apply 1 turn damage over turn. If a critical hit has occurred, attack 1 additional time at half damage, up to 2 times. When the enemy's health drops below 50, it is not your turn. Your action bar will be increased by 100%. This way you can try to take them out. He also does attack up and immunity on top of that. So attack up, immunity, gain an extra turn, and then do this, do some extra hits with some extra dots. You know. Light Man at Arms, he does this escort healing over turn after using this ability. And then we have the Parabellum. Remove all debuffs. Grant 2-turn effect up on all allies. Refresh their cooldown. This ability cannot be affected by cooldown modifying abilities. And then we also have the speed lead on top of that. So I feel like, again, 2 great units. I'm going to go with the light one, but more controversial opinions. Let's see what's next. So next ones are these string maids. So this one, he's got the speed lead, and then we have the Nether Gift. Passive, deal additional true damage equal to 40% of your attack power when attacking. Additional damage is doubled if the target's HP is lower than 50%. Has a 10% chance to instant kill the target if HP ratio is lower than 25%. Enemy killed by you cannot be revived, and this effect cannot affect boss target. And then we have the Tea Time. Recover HP of all allies. Grant them 2-turn attack power up and attack bar increase when it is 6 stars. So you got the attack gauge boost, you have the attack power up, and then you have the speed lead all together in addition to this Nether Gift passive. And then the light string maid has the resistance lead and then has this My Pleasure passive. We have the heal over here, recover HP, increase action bar of target ally, and then the My Pleasure passive, the healing effect caused is increased by 100%. When recover other allies' HP or action bar, you also gain the same bonus. Additionally, after healing an ally, both you and that ally will receive a 30% effect activation rate bonus and 30% damage increase when using active skills until you change the target of your healing. I feel like this one's a little bit more cut and dry to just like, oh, that's just going to work in... I shouldn't say cut and dry because it's like, oh, it's easy to use. Like, this one's easy to use too. But I feel like I like the Dark String Maid better, but it really depends on the team that you're using with it. This, of course, is going to be better in a cleave, aggressive cleave, offensive team, and then the light one is going to be a little bit better on like a defensive situation. So again, it is based on where you're going to use the units. Let's see this next one. The Wandering Monk. So Dark Wandering Monk, he's Dark Wandering Monk. He has a 33% speed lead for guild battles. We have the second skill, Cleanse and Counter, and a healing overturn on all allies. And then we have the anti-magic passive. Whenever an enemy uses a non-attack ability, remove 1 buff and inflict a 2-turn silence to the enemy with the highest action bar. Your attack deals additional damage equal to 10 to 13% of your max HP. Actually better than people think, I think. I obviously don't have one, but just fighting against him, this is more nasty than I ever considered to be. I'm like, okay, this is frustrating. Okay, this is frustrating. So, yeah, this is kind of nasty to deal with. And then we have the Light Wandering Monk. This one's a little bit more like you're used to people that have come from the game that shall not be named are used to dealing with this unit. So it's a little bit more, okay, I'm just going to bring attack gauge pushback and not boost, right? So the effect of increasing the action bar for all allies and enemies except yourself is halved. Whenever the enemy uses or triggers an action bar increase skill, your action bar will also increase by 20%. And then we have this AoE strip and stun. So nice to cut in, good for defense, going to be really great for live arena as well. I think a lot of teams are already just fine dealing with this. I think that this is currently, I feel like it's kind of weird that I'm going to pick this one, but I'm going to pick the Dark Wandering Monk just because I feel like this is actually better than people realize. And I feel like this is more frustrating. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think some people are going to be much more frustrated by the Light Wandering Monk, but that is that. So next, oh my god, these are both so good. Dark Music Queen is good for like so many areas though. This thing is wild. All teammates get 25 speed, the speed lead, and then we have we got to also talk about the Curse Melody because this is like everything is going to get used. She's just going to use everything all the time. Grant yourself 2 turns of effect up, then attack all enemies 2 times. Each attack inflicts 2-turn defense break, damage overturn. Action bar increases by 15% each time the attack lands a critical hit. People put high crit rate on this, and then she just increases the attack gauge and gets another turn after that. So it's really quite wild. And then she does this triple hit, defense break, incurable blind. People are just cleaving entire waves of dungeons with this unit. We also have, it's just such a great unit. We also have the Light Music Queen, Silent Nocturne, 2-turn silence and oblivion to all enemies, increase the action bars of our allies by 20%. Both of these really, really strong. Moonlight is just a strip and a sleep, not too crazy, but this one, I mean, in certain instances, this is, I'm gonna go with the dark one. In certain instances, that light music queen is so nice for that AoE oblivion and silence, but the dark one is just like, you can just use it in so many more areas. Next up, we have another two amazing units. This one is just very frustrating, the Light Warners. Immune to inability effects. When you heal, you apply a shield that absorbs amount equal to the healing amount for 2 turns. Allies under the shield effect will reduce damage taken by 30% when attacked, and you have a 35% chance to counterattack. Additionally, every 20 turns, you can revive an ally with 100% HP. Really good for a bruiser team, really good for annoying, frustrating defenses to deal with. It's quite a pain. And then we have the dark one, which has a chemical barrage. Everyone knows what the dark one does. Everyone gets the dark one for free, but it's an AoE attack gauge reduction. When hitting a target with a debuff effect, extend their skill cooldown by 1 turn, shorten the skill cooldown of a random ally other than yourself by 1 turn, damage proportion to the enemy's max HP. Then we have the Oblivion and Defense Break over here. Then we have a heal over here as well, and a 33% HP leader skill everywhere. Another controversial opinion, I think that the dark one is actually, she is, like, the light one is really frustrating on defense, really good, and really good with bruiser teams, and the dark one is just so good for so much. It is so ridiculous. It's like one of the greatest, one of the top 5 free-to-play friendly attainable units in the game. It is really, really, really good, and you can use it for so much. So, yeah. Another probably controversial opinion. Let's go to the next one, the Dark Sorcerer. This one was kind of a pain at first, like the first couple weeks of the game, and then I'm like, oh, you could just easily get around this. So the Magic Curtain passive reduces wide area attack damage by 20% on other allies. As long as there's an ally alive, you can evade wide area attack and use just not take any damage. Use Mana Compress to counterattack. Additionally, increase damage by 10% each based on difference in the number of surviving allies between number of surviving units between allies and enemies. And then we have the Mana Compress. Attacks an enemy, removes a buff. If successfully removed, grants you a 1-turn stealth. Damage decrease as the target's HP gets better. And then we have the Light One. So Light One also has a speed lead, which is nice. We've got this AoE silence. And then we have the Light Screen. Remove all debuffs on all allies. Grant them 2-turn immunity and invincible for allies with HP below half. Extend the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. We're going to go with the Light One. Yeah, we're just going to go with the Light One. And then let's go to the Specialist. All these units are so good. I think we're in a spot where, like, there's no, I don't really feel like there's any bad LD5s. Some of them are more useful in more scenarios than others, but there's not really any super duds. I say that, and I know people are going to complain and get like, no, mine needs a buff. The thing that I got needs a buff. Let's see. Mechanical Rampage passive. After attacking in your turn, a drone fires a laser beam to attack the enemy with the lowest HP, applies 1 turn of defense break. If the target is affected by paralysis, it will also absorb 70% action bar and increase your attack bar by 50% up to 5 times. You and your drone cannot crit or glance and cannot be countered. And then we have the System Hacking. Deploy drones to attack. Steal 1 buff. Cause damage equal to 20% of your max HP. Apply 2 turns of paralysis. Drones cannot crit or glance and cannot be countered. And then we have the Light Specialist. Electromagnetic Pulse attacks all enemies, 90 to 100% probability of removing 2 buff effects, extending the cooldown by 2 turns, and applying 2 turns of speed down. And then we've got the Stun and Damage over turn as well. Just such ridiculously good units, though. Such ridiculously good unit. I'm going to go with the Light One. But these, even the ones we're not choosing are such good units. Okay, so let's actually go on to round number 2, and we will go from there. I'm going to go with the Dark Assassin, just such an amazing unit, so I'm going to go with that. I feel like Dark Barbarian also. Am I crazy? Probably. So, what is... I think we'll go for this the Light Twinblade here. Very frustrating unit to deal with sometimes. Light Electromancer, I'm going to go with over there. Okay. But it's all this stuff is very controversial. Like all this stuff, you could argue so many different ways. I could even argue against myself too. Let's do this Man at Arms. I do like that. I think is a cool unit. We'll go for the. My goodness. Oh, we're gonna have some tough ones. So the String Maid or the Dark Monk, Dark String Maid or Dark Monk. I feel like maybe this is just useful in more areas. Quite possibly. Dark Music Queen or... Oh my god, there's... Both of them are amazing units. Jeez. I honestly, I don't know what I want to choose. I think they're both amazing. Let's go to the last one. I feel like maybe the Light Specialist. Man, this is rough. Because the War Nurse is so good. I'm going to do this, but I feel like the War Nurse is so good. Yeah, ridiculous unit. I'm going to go again with the Dark Assassin. Oh, man. So we've got a defensive unit versus an offensive unit. But the offensive unit can also kind of be a defensive unit. I think I'm just making the case that since this can be used in multiple situations, then maybe that's the scarier one. I feel like maybe that's it. Kind of wild. Oh my goodness. I don't feel very confident about this though, because I feel like you could make an argument that all of these units are so good, or at least a lot of them are. A lot of them could be like the #1 spot. Jeez. Maybe. This is just used so much. Like I've seen people do crazy stuff with her in so many ways. She's got the speed lead too. I think that's one of the things as well, is she's got the speed lead. So I would love to put 10 units up here. I feel like this is really not a great like this is not a clear-cut #1 unit in the game, #1 LD in the game. It's just you got to pick one, right? So how do you pick? Like, oh, I'd rather have this one in this situation. I would rather have this one in that situation. Personally, I think my unit that I would think would be the coolest to get is the Dark Assassin. I just know that she does so much in so many ways. But I think it's very controversial. So let me know what you guys would pick for yourselves. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Leave it in the comments. I will see you in the next one. And if you want to see more of these with some different units, some different like 4 stars and normal elements and things like that, let me know. I will see you as always. Just want to do something different today. See you as always in the next one.